This is my $10 get home bag. I don't call this a bug out bag just because I don't really believe in the mindset of a bug out bag. I mean, if a natural disaster happens, a wildfire or a tornado or something, and I have to leave where I'm at, then yeah, I guess this would be a bug out bag. Having a bag set up with all the things you're going to need and survive in one bag, I don't believe that's possible. I think a much smarter way is just to live in a better location, get out of the city, live in a place where you can have all the food, supplies, and shelter you can possibly have. I mean, depending on how much money you can spend. But this bag does mostly what I need to get home. This bag is ever changing. Things that are in this bag come in, come out. I'll get into some of that later in the video. But the whole reason I even chose this bag to begin with, this was just temporary. I don't usually believe in buying cheap bags. There are some things you don't cheap out on. Like a pair of sunglasses. Yeah, I don't need a $200 pair of sunglasses. $5 pair of sunglasses is just fine with me. But when it comes to a bag, I've always felt you need a pretty expensive bag. Of course, the feature set that you need, depending on what kind of material you like. If you like a strong denier nylon, if you like a waxed canvas or something like that. But when I originally got this bag, I had a really nice Maxpedition bag. But my first outing with it, I had the bag for only about a month. In my first outing with it, I went out to a lake with a friend of mine. We stood by the lake, and where the trees will grow up and they'll break off, I took this bag and I dropped it right on the bottom of the bag, and it popped a hole and it began to tear from there. And I didn't have the money to replace it because I had just bought that expensive bag. So I went into Walmart, and this bag was $10 on the shelf. And here we are 7 years later. I got this when my daughter was born. That's how I can keep track of how long I've had it. And it is still going strong. I mean, the bottom of this bag, is absolutely impressive. And I have never taken it easy on this bag. I've been so hard on this bag. In the store, I even noticed this nylon here was actually tearing. And I was like, oh, this bag ain't gonna last longer than a week. I was dead wrong. It is 7 years later, and this bag has had a full weight, anywhere from 20 to 30 pounds in it, all of the time. It's never been taken easy. It's kind of funny, when you buy cheap things, you're usually harder on them than you are expensive products. And then we think expensive products last a lot longer. May not always be the case. But this bag has done wonderfully. We will get into some of the features here. But one other thing I wanted to get into is the whole reason I even started carrying these bags to begin with is because I was a delivery driver, and sometimes it takes some extremely far routes, 200 miles in one direction, 200 miles back. And, if my truck broke down on the side of the road, or I got stuck in the mud, which has happened to me before, didn't have the best management, and they would just go home. Nobody would even check on us delivery drivers and see if we were even okay. We would be stuck there until people wonder why the truck didn't show up the next morning. So I realized I needed to keep most of the supplies that I needed, at least for 24 hours on hand. And then not only that, I'm not in a store, I'm not near my vehicle because I had to leave. They're just basic essentials that you would need. And we'll get into that now. Right in here, here's just some oil-soaked rags. I don't believe in buying the expensive, pre-soaked oil rags. These are just normal rags that I just soak in oil. I like CLP, Safariland CLP. These work really good. And again, some of those basic essentials like deodorant. You wouldn't think that's super important, but you're on the road, you might need deodorant. Another thing that's really useful, pills, Tylenol, basic things like that. I do have some other pills in here, nausea pills. Anything I need, I just throw in one thing. I can identify them easily. Again, that is a little bit of a worry if anybody else gets a hold of my bag, but again, I don't keep any hardcore, medicine in there. Another thing is a snack bag. I do have other food in this bag. Food is something I think is really important in this bag, and just keeping candy bars, anything like that to keep you nourished and keep sugar in your system so you can keep on moving. I find it really hard to believe when some people will make a bug out bag that they're going to survive for a long period in the woods and they don't bring any food with them. A lot of things can go wrong, and not having any food to begin with, I don't think you will have the strength to carry on. Having snacks and food is very, very important in my mind. Got a little rain poncho in here, emergency poncho. These are field dressing gloves. that I use. These just come in handy for any situation, just when you need to keep your hands and honestly up your arms clean. These are really nice. I have both of those. What else I have in here? Oh, a lighter. I usually keep a big lighter. There's multiple lighters all over this bag. I usually will put a little bit of like a bread tie around it to keep the gas up, and then I even wrap it in tape just to make sure all the gas is leaked out when I need it. I think that's everything in this pocket. Oh, nope. Toothbrush. That's always useful. And then here's some rosebud salve. Any type of like ointments or anything are, you know, really useful, especially if you get bit by bugs or burns or anything like that. This works really good. I like the rosebud salve. That's all in that pocket. Getting into the middle pocket here. This one is very well loaded. I keep an emergency bandage. These are some of the really large emergency bandages. Usually you want to keep these, you want to tear them open and have them, because they're usually double or triple wrapped inside. And in a bad situation, you've got to keep tearing off wrappers. But I just left this one in here. Just forgot to tear it out, but that's a good idea to have. Here is a little fan. I actually just got into these. These are little waist clip fans where you can hang them by the string on them and stuff like that. These are wonderful to have in a bad situation, especially if you're almost suffering from heat stroke. This is really nice. I like having that. Hand warmers, even, I mean, it's not even cold currently in the climate right now, but having some hand warmers is really nice. This has been in here probably for a few months now. A headlamp. I've got multiple flashlights in this bag, but having a headlamp is super useful. Kind of self-explanatory. Right here is a battery pack. Now this is something that changes. This is a nice battery here. Always try to keep it fully charged. We're at 100 here. I always keep cables here for just about everything I can need to charge. That has from Type-C, has some of the Olight charging cables in there. Even battery cables I don't even carry anymore, just in case. You can get really small ones for that, an adapter cable, you know, the end little plugs and stuff. That is so important to have. Now, something I used to have in there is this. This is one of these solar panels. I think this is actually like a Yeti brand, if I remember correctly, but this thing only has like 5 to 6 watts it'll charge. But I used to carry a spare phone in here, different wall plugs and cigarette lighter plugs, different spare batteries. This thing had it all, and I used to carry this battery in there as well, shove it all in there, but I just found it a little too heavy and maybe not fully necessary to have. So that's gone out, and I just keep the battery pack now. But again, these are things that change in the bag. I would have liked to have this in here, but it's just a little too heavy, so I decided it wasn't worth it. All right, getting into this, here's a little cheap little waist pouch that you just open up, and the pouch opens up. You can put anything you need to in it. Now, I don't think I'll be in a situation where I'll have to forage for food or anything like that, but it's really handy to have extra storage on you, and that's what this pouch is for. I like these. It weighs next to nothing. It's cheap. I think you can get them for like 50 cents on Temu. Here we have my tool pouch. This tool pouch is very useful. I do carry a ton of line in here, fish line. This is high tensile strength. I think it's like 50-pound line if I remember correctly. I carry some gun cleaning equipment in here. I carry some more oil-soaked rags. There are pliers down in the bottom here. There's a spare Leatherman. I keep a Leatherman on my person every day, but it's good to have a backup in there. Here I have some tea light candles. This just has a lot of utility. I always like to make sure I have tools in here. I'll close that up in a minute. Here are spare batteries. These are AAA batteries. I have a flashlight on the side of the bag. I'll show that in a second. But I have multiple lights in this bag that take AAA batteries. They're always useful, so I always keep those. These are rechargeable ones as well. Here is a sleep bivvy, an emergency bivvy here. I'm not going to take it out, but I think this is the SOS brand. They're a little bit thicker. They're not the really cheap ones. That's really important to have. On this side, I have a portable saw. Saws are so useful. This brand's been pretty good. That Deere brand, whatever it is, they were pretty cheap. I think they were marked down on CD&N Sports. These are really great. And then getting into it, here's a spare reload, 9mm reload. I do carry a firearm in this bag. This is something I decide on back and forth do I really need to carry a firearm in the bag? They come in and out. I worry, like, what if my bag gets stolen and things like that, but I do carry a firearm in this bag. I'm currently carrying a Beretta 92 M9. I think this is a good compromise gun, in my opinion. I don't really like 9mm that much. I like carrying a much larger caliber, but I chose this being a smaller caliber because it has high capacity, because my EDC gun is only 6 rounds. It's 44 Magnum, but it's only 6 rounds. So I figured it'd be nice in a bad situation, the way the world's going, have some high capacity. This magazine in here holds 20 rounds, and then the spare mag has a 17 rounder. So that gives me pretty good firepower. And then I have a little Mora knife. I usually carry a much larger knife in my bag, but this one has a little fire steel on it. This is a pretty decent knife. I'm not the biggest fan of the Mora knives. This is a Light My Fire edition. Usually I like to carry a large knife in my bag. I used to carry the actually my Cold Steel Rifleman's bowie. I used to carry that in here, but again, it's one of those things outweighing the odds. You know, do I really need a knife this large when this will probably do most of the things I need to? And then a little bit of the redundancy of it is I do carry in my pocket. I carry this every single day. This is my Cold Steel Espada XL. This is my absolute favorite knife, and it does basically everything I need a knife to do. So that's why I was all right going with a smaller knife. This just nice utility knife here. All right, I think that's everything in this bag. Oh no, something really important. Again, getting into the food aspect of it. Here is chicken base. This is a lot of salt. It's a lot of electrolytes. You can just mix this with water. That's why I have a water bottle on the side of my bag. I do carry water on this side of the bag. This one doesn't have anything in it. I'll get into that in a second. But it's got chicken fat in it. It's got salt. It's got seasoning. This is really nice. You can mix it with cold water. I've done it before. It really doesn't even taste that bad. But if you have hot water, even better. It tastes great. And this should get you a long ways with just this mixed with water. All right. I think that's all in there. Yep, that's everything in that pocket. And then let me get to the sides of the bag here. On the side of the bag here, this is a Coast flashlight here. Takes AAAs. Like I said, I've got spare batteries for it. These are actually plastic with steel lining. I don't think they make these lights anymore, but these are excellent lights. I really like these. They don't weigh a whole lot, and they're really useful. And then this is just a very basic stainless steel water bottle. I've had it for, Jesus, probably 15 years now. But inside of this, it fits a brand new Life straw. Kept in there with just sealed in this bag, and it's sealed in the water bottle, so it lasts a really long time. Don't have to worry about any contaminants getting in there, but that's nice. I have a way to filter water if I need to, and I can filter water just by, or not filter water, but I can, if there's any contaminants in water, if I worry about any bacteria, if it's still water, which I wouldn't drink, but again, in a bad situation, you do what you have to do. But I can boil in this bottle if I have to. It is stainless steel. On the other side of the bag, I carry spare water, which I should probably get rid of this one. I've probably had it for too long now, too much light getting in it, but there's that. A pair of sunglasses is always important to protect your eyes, and then you're protecting your mouth from what you inhale. Here's just a nylon or cotton mask. Had that in the bag since COVID. And getting to the outside out here, I have a Zippo fuel canister here. I actually don't even carry a Zippo anymore. I love Zippos, but I felt it wasn't necessary because of the weight of a Zippo, and they drain out so fast. But I do like having the fuel. I think that's really important, especially if I need to start a fire. This does have the little flint in it and a little striker here, so that's useful. And then spare headphones. These are noise canceling headphones. I think it's really useful to have headphones hands-free. If I have to, I can call somebody and I can have my hands free. And then these are noise canceling. If I have the ability to, and I have these in my head, I can use these if I need to fire a firearm indoors. And on the back side of the bag here, getting into some of the larger stuff here, this is my full medical bag. This has quite a bit in it. I carry gauzes, I carry ointments, band-aids, even just small boo-boo band-aids, to larger band-aids. I even carry some equipment to stitch if I need to, but this is very, very useful. I'm not going to pull all that out. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Something I've recently started carrying that I cannot believe more people do not is a poncho. This is actually a alpaca poncho from Alpaca World. Again, I have no affiliation with these companies. I paid out of my own pocket. But this is really nice. Alpaca wool is wonderful. I know a lot of people talk about merino wool, but alpaca wool is some incredible stuff. I think this is a 70 blend, 70 alpaca, and this is a wonderful, huge poncho. You can get completely under this thing, and it's water resistant. I'm trying to decide if I want to wax it or not on the outside just to make it extremely water resistant, but at the moment they're fairly water resistant on their own. This is something I think is so important to have in my bag here. Also in extreme heat, I can put this on paired with my little fan that I have and have the fan blow up underneath it, and this keeps the heat off me. Works really well. I've actually tried it out in the sun. I have spare clothes in here, even if they're just sweatpants, spare t-shirt, really, really useful. And then even more food is chocolate almonds and chocolate peanuts in here. This is full. Surprisingly, they haven't melted yet, but this is so useful. This is over a pound and a half of chocolate and nuts. This will get you a good ways. I think people kind of try to eat healthier for some reason in the bag while they eat junk food all day of their normal lives. I think that's kind of weird. I think you should carry, if you're somebody that's basically addicted to caffeine, I think you should carry things with caffeine in them so you don't get a headache too badly when you're traveling and sweating that you don't normally used to. Getting further down in the bag here, I even have a blanket in here. It might be a little redundant since I do have the poncho, but I think it is important to get out of the elements if you have to. So I do have a blanket here I can even put underneath the poncho with me. And then I have underwear and socks, and I actually have a towel, a microfiber towel in here. So this bag is pretty well loaded. I think I covered everything in this bag, but again, I am blown away. This bag is 7 years old, still going strong. I do believe Walmart has rebranded these to the Ozark Trail name instead of the outdoor products. I'll put a link on there if I can, but I'll at least put up a thumbnail just to show exactly what this bag is. It's a really impressive, cheap $10 bag. It's outperformed basically every bag I've bought, even $200, $300 bags. I'm absolutely blown away. You should definitely get one. And again, thank you guys for watching my video.